listening to the stories of God's work in Nepal and hearing about the history of the church in Nepal. I first met Brother Raju when he was a student studying in the Philippines. When I was a missionary there, he was studying at the International School of Theology, and we invited him to come speak to our missions class at our church. And we had about 10 Filipinos that were in training for missions, and so we wanted to introduce them to somebody, from another country. So we brought him in, and there's 10 people, but he gets up and he starts speaking like there's 10,000 people. You'll probably hear that tonight. And I was like, this dude is cool. I want to get to know this dude. And so afterwards, I introduced myself. I said, I'm Dave Bogosian. I guess he recognized my name. And he said, are you Armenian? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I love Armenians. I was like, how do you know Armenians? And then he told me the story of this brother. He was an Armenian brother from Iran. He was an Armenian who had gotten some bad business deals, got stuck in Nepal, and he didn't know how to get back home. He didn't know where to go, and he was trying to get to America. And so his church took him in. They discipled him. They led him to the Lord. They discipled him. And Roger's telling me all these miracle stories. There are stories that you cannot believe, as the prophet said, even if you were told. Stories of healing, stories of supernatural wonders. And he's like, David, he's kind of seeing the skepticism in my eyes, I guess. He's like, David, I know it's going to be hard for you to believe this stuff that I'm telling you, but you believe your own people. And he said, when you get back to America, you go and you ask this friend, you find him and you ask him if this stuff I'm telling you is true. I said, okay. So years passed by, many, many years later, and I was back in California, and we had a speaker come to our ministry, come speak to us from Nepal. And he gets up and he starts speaking, and I said, this guy's on fire. He sounds like Brother Raju. He was his brother. And so I got up and I said, you sound just like a guy I know, man, Raju, Pastor Raju. He said, that's my brother. And I was like, hey, and it just clicked to me. I was like, hey, your brother told me if ever I was back in California to track down this Armenian guy. And he's like, I'm going to meet that guy this afternoon. You can come with us. So we went out and met with this guy, and I said, hey, Brother Raju told me to ask you this question. He told me all these amazing stories, people, being healed and all kinds of supernatural wonders. And he told me to ask you, is it true? And he said, it's all true. I saw it with my own eyes. He was like, Nepal was my living seminary. Wow. And Raju taught me everything I know about ministry. And he was planting a church there in Glendale, California. Well, that story of this brother could be told 1,001 times. Pastor Raju's become a mentor to so many pastors and church planters all over Nepal. He himself is a pastor of one of the largest churches in the country. In Kathmandu, thousands of people come to his church, and most of these people, probably, Raju, you can confirm this, but most of these people come to the Lord through some sort of miracle, some sort of supernatural thing happening in their life, because it's illegal and it's very dangerous to preach the gospel in Nepal. It's illegal to convert people. Raju has been arrested. His father has been arrested. So many of the pastors have been put in prison. Even just on an accusation, you can be arrested. And so what Raju is doing is something that is very courageous. At the same time, it's something that nobody can stop. The Holy Spirit's doing it. Well, many, many years ago, 15 years ago, Raju, while he was studying in in the Philippines, he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, just unexpectedly. And he was in the hospital there after, being operated. He didn't know what was going to happen. Is he going to live or die? And he's watching a documentary on this people group in Nepal called the Badi People, B-A-D-I. And this people group made their living from prostitution. And they would sell their daughters, the offspring of this prostitution, to brothels in India. And God spoke to him while he was lying there and saying, I'm going to send you to reach these people. So here he is, he's a very prominent, very successful pastor. He has a very nice, great ministry going in Kathmandu. And God says, I'm sending you out there to the middle of nowhere to reach these people. And so he did. He started going out there, started teaching them about Jesus, tried to convince them to stop selling their daughters. And over time, they began to listen. They began to respond. And so we had the privilege, 15 years later, of dedicating the first church. God enabled us, and through people like this church, to be able to help build that first church among the Badi people. And many other churches are going to be built, and 300 girls have been rescued. And you guys have taken up a collection to help those girls that have been rescued in Kathmandu that are in his orphanage and his school. And so anyway, I don't want to steal all your thunder, Raju, and tell all your great stories. He's got 1,001 great stories to tell. I'm like, can't even come close to stealing this guy's thunder. But without further delay, Pastor Raju Sunas, it's a great honor to have you. Please come and share what God's doing.
I'm very thankful to God for allowing me to come to U.S. in such a time like this. And also, I'm very thankful to God that God has given me such a wonderful friend like David and Brother Rajesh. And I've been to U.S. many times. But this year, God has given me a special mandate to speak among the Bhutanese, Nepalese people in America. So there are over 250,000 Bhutanese, Nepalese are staying in the U.S. And I had a great privilege of speaking into different conferences. So I was able to speak into 5 conferences and able to speak with 2,000 people from different churches. And so many things has happened. And today I'm also thankful to God that He has enabled me to speak about something that God has put in my heart and how God is using our life to impact the people in Nepal. And my name is Raju Sundas, and I just want to show you my family picture. So I haven't shown this to many places, but I want to let you know if it is done. Thank you.
Sorry, it's slow. It's coming.
Okay, as long as it's coming.
There they are.
All
right.
So I've been married for the last 24 years, and I have 4 children. My wife asked me to say 5 children, but her 4 is not here. And my biological children, 1 son, 3 girls, and my eldest daughter is married. And recently we have got another small girl. She's 5 years old, and she's with us. And because of my wife and children, I'm here because they hold my ladder when I'm gone. And my daughter is married, and she's in Australia. And my son and 2 girls are in Kathmandu. And we have a great family. And in 20 years of my ministry, 400 of my family members have come to the Lord.
Amen.
All my cousins, my relatives. My father is pastor today, and I am pastor. My brother is pastor, and 80 of my family members are working full-time in the ministry because God has done an amazing thing in our life. And whatever I am today is just because of God. Because I come from untouchable caste. We have a caste discrimination in Nepal. Only Brother Rajesh can relate this pain so well because he's from India. So in Nepal, if you are born in untouchable caste, like dog can go from one house to another house. But being a human being, because I'm untouchable caste, I cannot enter in people's house. If they accidentally touch me, they need to take a bath before they enter into the house because I'm considered as an unclean person. I was from that place. And even I didn't know how to speak English until I came to the Philippines. I was a simple person. But God, in His grace, given me this privilege to serve Him. And I'm so thankful to God that He is using our family to impact the nation. And I just want to show you one of the church that I have planted. And this is we are a little bit crazy in our church because we have a lot of young people.
Amen.
This church was started with 6 people. My family. My father was a witchcraft doctor, drinking homemade alcohol, beating my mother every day, and my mother attempted to commit suicide several times. And I have seen the disappointment, discouragement in my family. And in Nepal, witchcraft doctor is everybody pay attention. But my father, being a witchcraft doctor, he was not able to heal my mother. And my father, for the first time, somebody shared about Christ. But in those days, the persecution is so high that people fear to go to church. But my father, because of the pain that my mother was going through, he went to the church. And my father didn't know who Christ is, but he was very much surprised by the love of people in the church, because we come from untouchable caste. And when my father saw that love and acceptance from the people in the church, my father came with big smile, and he was saying that Christianity is different. It has the masses of equality. And I can see that smile. I still remember. It was 32 years ago. But I still remember. And then my mother went to the church. And then many people began to pray for my mother. And 6 months of constant prayer from the people in that church, my mother was completely healed by God without any medical intervention. And that was the turning point in my life. I didn't know who Christ is because the persecution was so strong. We were so quiet. But without knowing anything, after seeing the smile in the face of my mother, I made a decision that, Lord, as long as I live in this world, I would follow you without knowing anything.
Wow.
And then my brother, my sister, because we need to walk 2 hours to go to church. And that was the greatest joy in my life, because I have that passion to walk 2 hours. I was so eager because in Nepal, church is on Saturday. And I was not counting on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, but I was just looking forward only for Saturday. And then we went to the church. God has healed our family. And I completed my school. And I joined Operation Mobilization, OM, to carry the gospel. We are carrying like 50 kilos of gospel tract on our back. Walking 7 days, 10 days, 15 days. And then one time when we're gone for 3 months and sharing gospel in the village, in the mountains. Because I come to realize in our country that when people would come to know the Lord, how gospel can bring the changes. And I always thought being untouchable, I was worthless. I have no significance in my life. And we believe in fatalism. Everything is like this. But when gospel came and transformed our mindset, this is different. And I believe from the core of my heart that gospel is the ultimate power to transform life.
Amen.
And with that conviction, I went every village. And then when I was preaching the gospel in the village, we have persecution. We have, people try to beat us. People try to call to the police. So many things has happened. But that part it's an amazing blessing. We were not afraid of anything, but we just want to bring the gospel to the village. And as I was preparing myself, God spoke to my heart that I need to start church. So then with 6 people, we started this church. And now in 20 years of our ministry history, that church which I have sown that was the largest building ever built in the history of our country. And I was nothing. I was a simple person. And my father, all our family, have given our life for the cause. And today, one church meeting in 50 different locations all over the world. And so when I grew and I wanted to do more work effectively, so then I went to the Philippines to pursue my studies. I never traveled outside of my country. When I went for the first time in the Philippines, I never thought that theological education will become like so tough. So difficult to pursue Greek, Hebrew, languages. And I didn't know how to speak English. I also didn't know how to write a research paper. For the first time in my life, I heard a research paper. So, and one thing that convicted in my heart is I want to do God's work. Even though it was the most painful time when it comes to academic things, but I persevere and pray. In the Philippines, 3 years, every day I wake up 5 o'clock and pray for 1 hour for English. Because I don't know how to speak English. And everybody says I speak broken English. But I said, broken English can change the broken-hearted people. Sometimes we have difficulties in language, but our passion, our zeal makes the difference. And I was about to complete my education. I thought my struggle was over and I'm about to go home. And then suddenly I was diagnosed with the cancer. In those days I did not have good English. And the doctor wrote, malignancy. And I thought this is like a vitamins or something like that, I was so excited. I didn't know. And then when I come back to the college and my professor, saw, hey, you are so joyful. How come you have cancer? Because I didn't know the word that malignancy. And that night the most affected person was my wife. My wife was pregnant, and I was diagnosed with cancer. I didn't have any money because I was in the seminary. You know, we have certain small amount of scholarship, so many things. And that was also one of the darkest moments in my life. Well, we don't know whether I will die, I will leave, and that fear, anxiety, all those things were there. And also doctor told me if I do surgery, I might lose my voice box forever because, well, they were operating my cancer cell because it's full of cancer. You know, they might cut my voice box, that fear. But again, that has touched my heart. And I pray, Lord, you have brought me to the Philippines to study. And I'm called by God to speak. How come that can affect my throat? I pray. And by God's grace, I was hospitalized, admitted in the St. Luke Hospital. That is one of the best hospital in the Philippines. They did surgery. It took 18 hours. And my wife thought I already died. You know, they were crying. But when I came out, God reminded about these body people. Body, I'm untouchable, but body are the worst. Even they are the bottom of the society. So, I was in the hospital bed. And God reminded me about these body people. And then when you are about to die, you do anything. Because I really didn't love body people, but because of my life, I said, I will do anything. And I made a commitment that I would share the gospel to body people. And then the following day, doctor came, and the first word I said from the professional room is, Jesus, I want to go out. And doctor was so excited. He said, and I thought I lose my voice or something like that. And then when he saw my voice, and he wrote in the paper, NC, no charge. My operation was free. I didn't have to pay any money.
Glory to God.
And then, again I cried, Lord, I want to. Without knowing, I said yes. But God's faithfulness in my life is amazing. And I said, why you chose me to work with body people? And Lord said, you come from untouchable caste. And they are even worse. Then you can relate the message of hope to these people. And when I went back from the Philippines, I went to the body village. I saw about body people in the documentary. And then when I come to know, body people sell their wife, their daughter to the prostitution. And that is the first time in my life I heard about the people group called body, whose primary profession is prostitution. The worst thing is when body people would know they have a baby girl in the womb. They would go to the brothel and deposit that child in the brothel and get the down payment, promising to the brothel owner that when the baby girl would become 11 and 12 years old, they would bring the baby to the brothel. And then I said, no. No. it's not okay. And God prepared me through all these things is to bring the gospel. And many people have tried, but they were not successful to reform the Bali people. And I come to realize when I went there in that village, they didn't trust me. I thought I was also one of the customers. And the people in the village, the clan leader was saying, it's okay to have have entertainment with our girls. And I told him, I'm not here to entertain your girls. I'm here to share the gospel. And they didn't believe. And it took me 6 months to establish a relationship with Bali people. And 10 years ago, when I started to work among the Bali people, and the first village that I went is called Chuprakola. That's in West Nepal, where Brother David and Brother Rajesh went to see in that place. And for the first time, 10 years ago, we were able to rescue 35 girls from that village. It was not easy to rescue girls from that village and bring to Kathmandu. They were telling so many lies about me that I can, sell their kidneys to the hospital. I can even sell them in a bigger brothel. Those kinds of rumors went. But when we brought these 35 girls for the first time in Kathmandu, sometimes these girls couldn't sleep. When we brought them, they said, someone is coming from windows to rape us. And someone is coming from the door to rape us. And I thought, so nobody's coming here. Windows is closed down. Doors is closed down. And I come to realize the persecution among the Bali people is not only physical thing, it is a spiritual thing. Because they were tormented. The demonic forces, even though there were no men in the room, the devil is tormenting. And they always believe persecution for Bali people is their fate. It is made by God. And then when we began to share gospel in Kathmandu to these Bali girls, 2 years, we shared the gospel, disciple them, and when they made a commitment to take baptism, and this girl, by God's grace, come to an understanding that the persecution that they are doing is not made by God. It is made by people. It can be broken.
Praise God.
And by God's grace, with that 35 girls, in 10 years of time, we were able to rescue, restore 680 children in our foundation. Our foundation is the largest foundation that is working in Nepal when it comes to human trafficking work. And government come to realize that we are doing the most amazing thing for the Bali people. And in 10 years of time, that's why when people say, why you are excited about gospel, people always ask, and we were able to rescue girls who have been sold in brothel for 20 years, 15 years. And one of the girls that we have rescued for the first time from that village, her sister was sold in brothel in Delhi, and she slept with 20,000 men. Her breast was caught with razor, sprayed chili powder. She has 100 of slashes of razor in her hand. When we rescue her, bring back to Kathmandu. And today these girls, they come to our church and they raise both of their hands and they praise Jesus. And I told him, why you are so passionate about Jesus, why you are so excited about Jesus and worshiping Him. And they said, when we come to know the Lord, the blood of Christ has cleansed our mind, our heart, like anything that we were never being sold to the problem. And I come to realize that counseling is part of life, but Jesus is the ultimate answer of life.
Hallelujah.
And then we have seen so many amazing things among these girls. And today, in 10 years of time, when Christians began to pray for people, what can happen? The body prostitution problem is existing for the last 300 in our country, 300 years in our country. And 10 years of time today, the first nurse from body community is come from our hostel. The first body girl who has completed bachelor of degree comes from our hostel. The first body doctor is come from our hostels. The village where we started our work with 35 girls has 700 people. 700 people. Out of 700 people, 400 people have come to know the Lord. One time I was baptizing 100 people. And I pray for growth. But baptizing 100 people is not easy.
Wow.
Amazing in that village. And today I have a great news. In 300 years of body history, for the first time in Nepal, we were able to build the first body church in partnership with Christian.
Wow. Amen.
Amazing. Amazing. And in 10 years of time, body people are scattered over 22 different districts in Nepal. 3,000 people have come to the Lord. An amazing thing is when we share our heart to the people around the world to pray for body people. For the first time in the 300 years of history, body women became the member of the parliament in Nepal.
Wow.
And this is my answer to the people that why I'm excited about gospel. Why I'm excited about Jesus. Because they were there for 300 years. They always thought useless. They always thought being a body woman is to entertain people, to sell their body. But when gospel came and touched their life, now they no longer think they are untouchable. They are no longer untouchable. But when the gospel touches life, God brings them on the top.
Yes.
And not only that one, when she became the member of the parliament in the entire history of Nepal, this last year, another amazing thing has happened. This is all for the first time in the history. BBC has nominated this body parliament member as the most top 3 best women in the world. And this can happen only by the power of gospel. And that makes me passionate. I know, because I'm also believing, untouchable. And I come to realize that gospel can affect my life like this, then same gospel can affect the body people. And today, I never thought that I would start schools. I'm not educationist. I didn't have that education background. But when I started to rescue girls, everything, since we have a caste discriminations, I cannot send these body girls to different schools because people began to look down on them. And I come to realize, Lord, I'm not an educationist, but what I need to do is God spoke in my heart, you need to start school. And I said, Lord, there are thousands of schools. Why do you want me to start schools? Because all these schools and the school that I need to start has a very strong distinction. And I say, what is that? Because other school has their own worldviews. Their worldviews does not respect by the people. And I said, Lord, if I need to start school, then I want to start Christian schools where there is no discrimination. And I pray, Lord, then I want Christian name of the school. Then I come to the government and I said, I want to start schools with the name Christian Community School. All government, police, local people said, oh, cannot happen in Hindu country like this in our country, Christian school. I pray, I pursue, I pray, I pursue lot of opposition. But by God's grace, for the first time in the history of Nepal, we were able to register Christian Community School in Nepal. We have now 700 students in that school, 80 full-time teachers are studying, and 70% of my body girls are studying in this school. And in our schools, our worldviews is different. Our worldviews is Christian worldviews. No discrimination, love, acceptance, and empowerment in our schools. And by God's grace, through these schools, even from that village where we have a church, I have 120 girls from this village. 80 of the girls is now a product of our school. They have already completed their education. The first bachelor degree girls come from that place. First girl who is now studying bachelor degree in journalism comes from that village. And then the first girl that I have rescued from that village, her name is Hannah. She is the first body girl now studying in America.
Wow.
2 years ago, I brought her to speak in one meeting, and she spoke that meeting. And when she was coming from the platform, I didn't know that there was a president of NCU, North Central University president. And he immediately came and shook her hands. So I want to give her a presidential scholarship to her. And I didn't know how much. And he said it's more than $200,000. So she got that. And today she is the first body girl to travel in America. And now she's brushing her English. And then before she comes to America, we had a huge program where 50 television station, people came, journalists, prime minister, ambassadors, ministers, all top level people in auditorium in Kathmandu. And she was the first girl to speak in the television that she wants to become the first female body prime minister in our country.
Wow.
What gospel can do? 300 years. But the people remain as prostitutes. No values. And today when gospel came and effect in their life, people can dream. People can dream. And that's why. And her book is coming in America. The name of the book is No Longer Untouchable. No longer untouchable. And that's why I'm so thankful to God that God has given this golden opportunity for us to invest our life to body people. And we have 70,000 body people in our country. And many people said, I'm very optimistic. Yes, I'm optimistic.
Come on.
Because I have seen an amazing result in 10 years.
Yes.
In 10 years. In 10 years of time when Christian people believe God and pray for them, the parliament member can come, doctors can come, engineers can come, nurse can come. Let's say in next 5 years, so my desire, my passion is I want these people to be affected by gospel. And there is one village, another village is called Kailali. There is 1,472 people. In 10 years of time, from that village alone, 1,000 people have come to know the Lord.
Wow. Hallelujah.
1,000.
Hallelujah. Yep.
And my greatest desire in the next 5 years is to train body people to become church planters, body people to become the kingdom advancer, to share the gospel, disciple, plant churches. And by God's grace, for the first time in our ministry, we're able to now assign a full-time missionary for body people. And that I want to show you Saros and Sapana. See Sapana. She was sold when she was 12 years old. Her one sister sold her in brothel. And by God's grace, we were able to rescue her from Delhi, JV Road. She was sold in JV Road, 46 number. Every brothel has a number. So she was sold in JV Road, 46 number. When we rescued her, she was a chain smoker. She was an alcoholic person. And she was addicted. Because she was sleeping with 80 men a day. When we brought her, 1 year, we had a big struggle because she was trying to cut her hand with razor blade, trying to burn our room with that things. But we were persistent of sharing gospel. And then when she encountered the presence of God, she fasted 40 days.
Wow.
And that is the time she encountered the presence of God. And then she stopped smoking. She stopped. And then she wants to get training. And then we put her in the training. And while she was, going through the training process, she prayed to the Lord that she has a big desire to wear white dress and get married. And I didn't know this. And when I did research, when girls are sold out in brothels and become prostitutes, like in 10,000, only one person can marry. So difficult And then we prayed, and I encouraged her. And by God's grace, we had a student in our Bible school studying, and his name is, so they fall in love.
Amen.
And in my 45 years of my life, that was the joyous moment in my life when she wore white dress and walk on the church pulpit. And what God can do in people's.
Yes.
How God will bring hope And then now they have decided to become missionaries to the body people. They have lived everything, and they now went to the village. And my desire is I want them to become an apostolic person for body work. And next 5 years, I want to see another 50 churches planted. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people come to the Lord. Discipling. And I just want to thank God that God has given me this privilege to come and share about body people. Please pray for us. Pray for body people. And let's believe God that God will do amazing things through body people in Nepal. And I believe these people will become icon, prime minister, minister, even the top business people cannot deny the transformation that God is bringing in our nations. And I strongly believe in my heart that these people will become the flashpoint of revival to our country.
Wow.
Because I have seen how gospel can transform life. And I just want to be encouraged. Your partnership is so meaningful to us. Even though you are so far away from these people. But can you imagine what partnership also can do?
Amen. That's right.
This is amazing. This is amazing. And then I always encourage people. You know, when we die, we leave everything, our cars, our house, our property. The only thing we can bring to heaven is people.
Wow.
And my prayer in heaven, because of your partnership, because of your investment, I want thousands of body people walking in heaven.
Glory to God. Amen.
That's my heart.
Yep.
Thank you very much. May God bless you.
You know, family, y'all go ahead and be seated because we're not done. Rajess may not know it, but he's going to share a little something before we leave tonight. But you know, I've always said to you that we can touch the world from here. We just have to be willing vessels. And you know, it's just like, okay, August, we did the communion offering for a place in Nepal that Brother David had talked to me about. We didn't know who was on the other end of that offering. But see, tonight is one of those times you get to see the difference you make.
Yes.
And the thing is, I really believe when we do get home, because of your faithfulness to world missions, you're going to meet a lot of other people that you've had that impact with. And Raju, here's what I'll commit to you. We did a communion offering because of David. And actually, probably my wife had as much to do with it as anything when David started talking in our house about these girls. And my wife said, she just told me, she said, I want to give to that.
Thank you, Jesus.
And so anyway, we decided we'd do a communion offering. But I'm going to make the commitment to you as a pastor of this local church. One way or another, we're going to give you some type of support on a yearly basis. Okay? Last time, whether it be through a budget thing, we want to sow into what God is doing through you. And we are so honored. So honored. I'm going to ask you, because we're going to pray over you guys, but I'm going to ask you, I want Rajesh to come here. Come here, brother. Now, I have met Rajesh once before. Got to have lunch with him. And And I was thrilled when he is the director of Southeast Asia for Christian Aid, correct? Now, so I may be just really getting off base, but you also were born in the caste system.
Yes.
But you were on the opposite end, am I correct? You were like at the top of it.
Top, yeah.
And
Yes.
the reason I bring him up here, only Christ.
Amen.
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 Only Christ. We sat in an airport one time coming through Rome, and it was my first experience with the caste system, is I could see a very poor man trying to find his way around the airport, and I knew there were some very rich people in the high end of the caste system. Tracy and I, my mom, were sitting here, they were sitting there, and this guy was wandering around. He had a hearing aid, and those people in the upper end of the caste system would have nothing to do with him, nothing to do with him. And he happened to have a note, and he showed it to me, and he was going somewhere to try to work to help his family, and I thought about that. I said, those people probably understood his language, but they wouldn't have anything to do with him. But, Rajesh, can you tell us briefly how you got saved? Because, I mean, yeah. Sit down, brother, and we'll get around here and pray, okay?
God had a plan before I was born, and I didn't know that. When I was 19, a semi-blind person, around 70 years of age, came to me and said, son, I have a gift for you. And it was a small Gideon's Bible, green color, and I still have it. And I took it, and that's how the journey started. The Lord had a plan. I didn't know. But I was very religious, orthodox thinker. And so a lot of mysticism. If you do this, this will happen. So the only reason I opened the Bible of that sort of thinker, that I might find something in this that would benefit me. Some sort of magical powers that I was curious about. And I opened the Gospel of Matthew, the beginning of that, and I was totally confused because of all the genealogy and stuff. I was very disappointed. I sort of, with respect, I went back, but I hesitate to say the word, please take it back. That might offend her. He's an immature person. In our culture, we were taught to respect the elders. So I kind of mumbled and fumbled and kind of uttered somehow that she would get my point that I'm trying to not have this, don't need it. And she got my point, but she persisted. She said, son, you read from the Gospel of John, which is my favorite today. But it wasn't that time. And I came to my room, and I just, crazy guy, and I said, this mystical mind I had. I said, I don't know, whatever it is, and something like that. I said, I'm going to open from somewhere, and some magic will happen. And I will read, and then if that doesn't happen, I'm going to throw it out. So it opened that day in the Gospel of Luke. And it unfolded before me like a movie. And I never stopped reading. And that's how I found the Lord. The place that, I had my own imagination as I was reading too. So one side God was there, and one side me, outsmarting my imagination. This will happen, that will happen. And I was very disappointed, actually, at the point. My imagination all failed. When at the Gethsemane, when the soldiers walk in, and I said, oh, wow. I used to watch Bruce Lee movie those days. That's why Bruce Lee was my favorite. So here comes the soldiers, and Peter sticks out his sword. I said, man, that thing's going to start now. And I was cheering up, and Peter cut the ear of the soldier. And when the Lord picked it up, fixed it back, I was disappointed. This is the movie. never seen before. I used to watch a lot of movies like crazy. So that was like a starting point, that I was totally so wrong. And there was something here that I never discovered before. And then at the point where I went to the cross, I was just crying. I couldn't explain. First time in my life. I was weeping. I said, why would something like this happen? Why would somebody has to die? Would never made any mistake. And that was my quest. That's how I met the Lord. And it was a 2 years journey. And then my parents found out, kicked me out of the house. And those were my best years. When I had nobody, I tried to commit suicide, do all the weird stuff. I was hoping that something, people would help me. And I was counting on people, but I wasn't counting on the Lord. So I learned my lesson of that. And when I was dying in the bed, I met the Lord that night. I said this to the Lord. I said, you gave me this life, and I'm trying to destroy it. And if you give me one chance, this life is yours. I didn't know that day that God had a plan already before I was born. I didn't know that. God heard it, and He touched me. And I felt in my head and ran through my body to my feet a power that I couldn't explain before. I had strength, I had joy, first time in my life. And that's how God gave me a second chance. And I'm standing here. A couple of years later, when my parents kicked me out, I went to see my mother. And she was telling me how they were trying to get me back in the religion. And they were describing this religious thing they had done, invested so much. Had 7 priests come for 7 days and all this stuff. And they were trying to get me back. And then I said, you have not met. And she was cursing and all that. The Christians and all this, all that. And I said, there are two sides of the coin always, I said. And there are people, what you described, they may exist. That was there in the Bible too. But you have never met, I said, the people who walk according to the word of God. I said, you never met. And then she told me, she said, for 20 years, you were not born. We knocked on all the doors of the temple, and we gave up. And I was declared, I was barren. And your father's family decided to send me back. And the father was waiting on that, when to send back. And while I was waiting, a woman comes and said, you tried everything, come with me. And my mother said, I refused. Because she said, this is my fate. I was barren, cursed from, because in Hinduism they believe all the curse from people's life. And so she was settled on that and she wasn't going. But this woman said, we've tried everything. We tried this one last thing. And my mother said, okay, I'll go. So quietly she went, and there was a Christian woman who had oil and put the oil in the tummy, she described, and she prayed for my mother. She said, in 3 months you were in my tummy. And she about to cry. My mother never cried, I never saw her cry. She was a tough woman. She could fight 4 men. She beat us out for anything, for all the religious duties. We were scared for our mother. So I never saw tears in my mother's eyes. She was a brave woman. And that night, the first time I saw her, she didn't want to show me. She just turned around. But before she went, she said this. She said, the God who gave you to us took you back for His service. And that's the moment she was breaking down. Because she was like giving me back to God, that she was holding with all this stuff she was trying to get me back. And I was standing there, and God's word came to me. I created you. In your mother's womb. Your very inmost part I saw when you were being formed. And I said, it's that ground beneath me. I'm standing. This word of God is so true. I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't exist. But that was my best night of my entire life.
Praise the Lord.
I was rejoicing. So God chose us, not I chose God. He had a plan for us. Not I had a plan for him. I just joined his plan. So I'm blessed. And I have 3 children, 3 boys, Simeon, Micah, and Joshua, Billy. And I have a wonderful wife. I'm blessed serving the Lord, Pastor Mike.
I know you
I'm
are.
rejoicing with brothers like Raju. And so many wonderful stories. God gave me Romans 15 when I came to Christianity, but David invited me. He gave me the best office, and I looked and I cried, and I said, I don't deserve this. And I asked David, why you gave me this? He said, this is the most best office I want you to have. And I cried there looking out the window. I said, I don't deserve this. I was dying, I was perishing. I'm nobody, And look at this, where God brought me. But God spoke to me that night. Romans 15. Came very clearly. From Jerusalem to Illyricum, I have fully proclaimed the gospel, and there is no place left. You said, Lord, only allow my eyes to see. In this lifetime, I wasn't asking I would do it. I said, let my eyes see. There would be no place left in South Asia. And people like Brother Roger, their vision, their passion, and God is connecting us to people like that. And He's allowing us to see. So my eyes is full of that. David and I, we travel together many times, and we see this unfolding literally in Romans 15.
That's right.
Places are getting filled. I was talking to Roger, I said, because God is bringing back the stolen worship the enemy has stolen.
Yes,
These
yes,
are
yes,
places. I mean, the Islam. I mean, look at them. 5 times a day they pray. How serious they are. Look at Hinduism, where our brother Roger comes. I mean, they're sold out. When we were a kid, we sit 3 days, and night and day we keep the routine, and they're singing all this to the false idol, false worship. God said it in His Word. And He's restoring the false worship back to Himself. That's what He's doing. So people who are coming to Christ today, because God's promise is there, is for them. I want to thank you very much for praying for Christian Aid, praying for the work of the Lord, and Brother Raju and so forth. You're a blessing. You're a blessing. We couldn't do without you. Pastor Mike, thank you. God bless you.